Our bodies weren't designed to be sedentary. Using a wheelchair as a primary mode of locomotion can lead to joint pain, upper body injuries, more specifically to the shoulder girdle, and overall discomfort. Keeping wheelchair-bound individuals moving as much as possible should be a regular part of their daily regime. Doing so will increase strength, flexibility, improve mobility, and help with weight control. Exercise also has positive effects on mental status. So being active can improve poor mood states and depression, which are both commonly experienced in wheelchair-bound individuals.
As a trainer, it is critical to know the facility you're training your client in. When training a client in a wheelchair, you must provide them with an accessible facility that includes ramps, elevators, accessible machines, and ample room to maneuver. It is also important for the client to feel comfortable in their surroundings. As a trainer, we must provide them with our knowledge of how to adapt an exercise to be specific to their capabilities and needs. What's more, all these factors are indicative of the vast knowledge base that we as trainers require to successfully work with clients who require the use of a wheelchair.
Just like any client, communication is key. So be sure to talk to your client about what works and what doesn't, and how to best go about each session in its entirety, so not just for the individual exercises. This population is highly individualized, so each client is unique. So even though, for example, with spinal cord injury, someone may have the same injury, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have the same function. So regularly track how your client is feeling to make sure the progress is being made in the right direction, so you can work together to make sure that the program is best for that client.
It is especially important to keep clients who need a wheelchair motivated. As their trainer, it is important to not underestimate their abilities. Furthermore, they may come in for a session on either a good or bad day, and it's important to help them overcome this. Some great tools for this could be goal setting or a relapse planner.
The lateral arm raise exercise is usually done with 2 arms and is used to strengthen the latissimus dorsi muscle of the back. Today we're going to try it with just 1 arm so that we strengthen the ipsilateral portion of latissimus dorsi muscle as well as the contralateral portion of the external obliques. So adding this 1 arm exercise and strengthening the external oblique muscles will allow someone in a wheelchair to sit upright in their chair, reach for items throughout the day without falling, also make transferring to and from their wheelchair much easier. Okay, so before we get started, ensure that the client has their wheels locked on their chair and that they're stable and upright. They may need to use a seat belt if they're too weak to hold themselves up. So to get started, just use a light weight. So I'll demonstrate using a 5-pound dumbbell. So ask the client to hold the dumbbell in one hand and then just rest their other hand on their lap. And then all you're going to do is with this arm, hold it down at your side, and then raise it up sideways to the level of your shoulder. And then you're just going to, in a smooth motion, lower it back down. It's important that you don't raise your arm above the level of your shoulder, because it's not necessary to strengthen the muscles, and it also could cause an injury. So do you have any questions, or do you want to try it out?
No, I can try it.
Okay, here you go. And ensure that you're trying to stay as upright as possible. Don't tilt to the side if you can. So go up. Good. That's a little high. So we'll just bring it to there. Yeah, and then go back down. Good. And try it a few more times. Up. And then back down. Good. And very good tempo as well. Good. And back down. Okay, so now we're going to try it on the other side. And before we try it, I just wanted to let you know about proper breathing techniques as well. So when you're lifting your arm up, you want to try to breathe out. And then when you're lowering your arm back down, you want to breathe back in. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so try it on the left side. Some clients in wheelchairs may experience grip weaknesses as well. So you can use things like an assisting glove to help them hold the weights if they're not able to on their own. So using a glove like this, you can just place the dumbbell still in the fingers of the hand and then tie it tight enough so that there's no movement with the weight. And I'll put that at your side and see if there's any movement. Perfect. And do you feel comfortable with that? Okay, so again, put your right hand just on your lap and try, we'll just do a set of 2 to see if you can get the motion. Sure. So again, breathe out on the way up. Perfect. And then back down. Next exercise we're going to do is the forward arm raise. So this exercise is used to strengthen the muscles of the upper back and the shoulder girdle, such as the levator scapulae and deltoid muscles. So strengthening these muscles will assist clients in sitting upright in their chair, and when they do reach forward to grab an item off the table or off the floor, they're not going to fall forward and tumble off their chair, and they may not have to use a seatbelt anymore. And I'll just put these right here, and you can start with your hands outright and straight, just at the level of your seat if you can, so almost to the side of your knees, right there if you can fit. Yeah, that's perfect. And then all you're going to do is again just lift them upright to the level of your shoulder. You don't need to go any higher. In a nice smooth motion, and then lower them back down to the starting level. Before you start, just make sure that you don't have too much bend in your elbow, but don't lock them either because that could cause pain or an injury. And then for breathing on this one, when you lift them up, you want to breathe out, and then when you're lowering them back down, you want to breathe in. So very similar to the last exercise. Are you ready to try it?
Yes.
Okay. Good. And then back down. Then go up and breathe. If the client has grip weaknesses, again, you can use the assisting gloves. Put those at your side and just give them a move, see if they go anywhere. Perfect. Okay, so now try it again. Start just beside your knees, and then raise up and breathe out. Perfect, and back down, and breathe in. Great.
We're going to be doing a chest press. This exercise will target the chest muscles required to help you with wheelchair propulsion. We're going to modify it using a resistance band. You can either place it around a pole behind your wheelchair, or you can put it directly behind your wheelchair. All right, let's try it. Make sure to relax your shoulders. Great. And notice her arms are parallel. They are not too high or too low. She also has the bands underneath her armpits. This helps to just keep the bands in a better position while you are doing the exercise. Looks good. If you have a client with grip weakness, feel free to use the assisting gloves, like our lovely assistant has on. She's locked firmly, or the resistance band is tied firmly into the gloves, as you can tell, and she would do the exercise just as she would without the gloves on. Also make sure that her wheelchair is firmly locked in place. Great. This exercise will target muscles in your back that will help to fix that muscle imbalance from forward rounding shoulders that you typically get from the forward movement in a wheelchair. A couple things that you want to think about for this exercise that you might have to modify. Make sure that the machine you're using is wheelchair accessible. You don't want there to be a seat permanently on the machine that you are about to use, because that will get in the way of the wheelchair. Make sure the wheelchair wheels are always locked firmly in place. And when you do the exercise, you might have to modify it a little bit so the movement you make is a little bit wider than the typical seated row, solely because the wheelchair might get in the way and you don't want to hit the wheelchair and have that prevent you from doing the full range of motion. All right, let's try it. Something to think about, you can come back and hold the person's shoulders just so that they are not thinking of keeping them forward. Good. She has a nice wide movement with her arms as she's doing the exercise, and her shoulders are staying back very well. This exercise can also be modified for clients who may have no grip strength or very weak grip strength. We have used the assisted cuffs, that you will tie onto the cables, and motion of this exercise will still be the same. Let's try it. As a side note, make sure that you are not using too heavy of a weight because you do not want to contribute to any joint injuries that they might feel. As the trainer, you can also again go behind the wheelchair to assist. You can hold their shoulders or just hold the wheelchair so that they do not go anywhere during the exercise.
In this block, we'll cover exercise shoulder press for clients who are using the wheelchair. This exercise will improve our muscles, which is deltoids, our shoulders, which works in our daily life when you're trying to reach something from top or footing up. Let's see it in action. I will comment in during our client will do it. On dumbbells, we'll start with the light weights. Make sure that here is 90-degree angle. Put it up, put it down, breathe. As a trainer, you'd better to stay behind and spot your client each and every repetition. Do not allow him or her to lean forward. And also, our wheelchair should be locked. Forget about breathing, yeah, that's good. Here we can see how we will do this exercise with grip weaknesses. So we're using healthy gloves, which we used before, so you know how to adjust them properly. Make sure that the weight is tight enough. So, and ask the client to check it to not fall it. Okay, if it's good, we can start from the starting position again. Open it up, 90-degree angle, yeah, goes up, goes down, yeah, up, down. Now we'll take a look at the bicep curl exercise, which helps us in our daily life because it's one of the major muscles on our arm. So, starting position over here is again arms straight down over here, and we curl it up, curl it down. You'd better to spot your plan again and make sure that everything under control, and wheelchair is locked. Again, we're using assistant gloves for our bicep curl, so we can see it again here. Make sure that your client check that weights are tight enough over here and do not fall out. So we'll start curling up and down, nice and smooth. Don't forget about breathing. And again, we start with the light weights. In this portion, we'll cover triceps exercise, triceps extension on the cable machine over here. Again, we should ensure that this machine is accessible for a wheelchair and it's easy to use that. The way to do this exercise is to under control. Your elbow should be parallel to the floor and close to the body over here. Nice and small motion forward. And go back under control. Do not drop the weights. Okay? So we'll try to do it. Okay. I'll stay behind squatting here. Yeah, release the shoulder over here. Yep. Go. It's okay. Yes. Don't forget about breathing. Good job. We're continuing our exercise for triceps, but here we'll adjust this exercise for people who has grip weaknesses, and we'll use the assistant cuffs over here. You already know how to put them on, so how to adjust them, and the rest of the exercise is still the same. Like that, start position over here, elbow inside your body over here. Yeah. Works. Now push it, breathe out, in. Yes. And you control your client from behind. Simple and easy.
So now we've gone over some of the basic exercises that you can do to modify for someone in a wheelchair. You can obviously, when the client is ready, progress the exercise to a more advanced exercise. So some of this would involve something like a med ball and a weighted bar. So you can be creative when you're using any kind of exercise that you can do standing. You can do obviously seated in a wheelchair. So I can demonstrate two with my lovely client over here today. And then, so that's just an example of something that we can use. And then from there, you can use your imagination to try and make the program as fun as you want for your client. One that we can start off with is chest press. So we're using a light med ball. It's something that would mimic a chest press as well, but this is a more explosive movement. So again, it helps with any of the forward pushing of a wheelchair, and also especially when they have to go up an incline. Because of the explosive nature of the med ball, this is something that is good for mimicking that movement in everyday life. So your client would start with the ball, and his elbows are wide, and he's exploding out to me, and then I give it back, and then back. So you progress from here. You can distance yourself as far or as close as you want to your client. You can use a heavier weight ball for whatever best suits your client. Obviously, if you take a step away, it needs to be more powerful. So that's really awesome for when they get more stronger and need to develop even more. Another one that we will demonstrate is with the weighted bar. It is a row. So we're going to each hold on, and then I essentially resist against him, pulling it in towards his body, and then he resists against me, pulling it in towards my body. This helps again with the imbalance in terms of the forward motion that they're always in the wheelchair for. And it's something that's good for opening doors or anything like that in terms of functionality within everyday life. So you got it from his right hand, it's in my right hand. I'm going to bend down so I'm ready in an athletic position, and then he pulls in, and then I pull. Again, you can make sure the locks are always on the wheelchair, which is important. And you make sure that they're upwards, shoulders are down and back. And then you would switch sides and do it with the other arm as well. Right. So another exercise that is for an advanced client is something that mimics a tricep dip, where your legs would be suspended, but instead they would just do it in their chair. So they place their hands on either side of the wheelchair, their arms, and then just push their body up, like so, and then push their body down. So as he does this, you notice that it's something that is very helpful as the client needs to transfer in and out of their wheelchair. So this is something that's hugely beneficial to clients. If they have some muscle strength in their legs, they can do this one set to start off using some assistance in the legs. And then the next set, they can try and work on just isolating the arms. So it's something that you can progress in that manner and is really helpful to the client. Okay, so now we have another exercise. As you can see, the kettlebells are out in front of the client here. This is something that works the core strength and their trunk function. So they would be bending over to pick up each kettlebell and sit upright in their chair and then replace it back down to the floor. This is really good in case they actually need to pick anything off of the floor, such as groceries or anything of the sort. As you can see, it's from one side to another, so it works either side of the obliques, and then there's a bigger one out in front, and you can obviously place it in any variety out as long as they can grasp it out from either sides. And now we will have a client demonstrate this exercise for us. So he picks up the 5 pound on one side and sits nice and tall, puts it back, and then you can grab onto the other side, obviously working the right side of the obliques, and puts it back, and then he grabs middle weight, rolls it over, sits up nice and tall. There you go. Awesome.
Basic cardiovascular training for clients in a wheelchair can include an arm ergometer. However, it can also be made more interesting by wheeling around. You can have your client wheel up ramps for an added challenge, and remember, it's important to include wheeling backwards. Wheeling backwards is essential to help offset the muscle imbalance of forward rounding shoulders, and adding challenges or different paces to their common movement contributes greatly to the functionality of this type of cardio.
Wheelchair-bound individuals commonly experience joint and muscle pain in the upper extremities. This is associated with using a wheelchair as a primary form of locomotion. Therefore, flexibility of the upper extremities should be stressed when creating an exercise program. More specifically, addressing forward rounding shoulders and joint pain by emphasizing chest and shoulder flexibility will provide a lot of pain relief. Addressing muscle imbalances will also reduce pain, such as increasing upper and lower back strength to counteract the consistent stress on the muscles of the chest and shoulders. Prescribing a well-rounded flexibility routine is still recommended, addressing all major muscle groups. However, careful attention must be placed when working with clients with spinal cord injury, as stretching the lower extremities could cause spasticity.
Program design for any clients can be fun and exciting, but this is definitely true with this population. So you can be creative with setting up each of the sessions. Intersperse resistance exercises with cardio, you can have a circuit day, you can try out supersets, you can play with intervals, go for it. We have gone over some of the more traditional and typical exercises for this population, but this is just the beginning when you're training a client. There is so much more potential, and with your help, your client can make the most out of every opportunity.